This is Rob Hannley with Recovery Today Magazine and recoverytodaymagazine.com, where first and foremost, we are a magazine of hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself, your loved one, or for somebody actively in recovery a short while, or maybe people that have been in recovery for a long period of time, you're going to find information on all kinds of related topics, addiction, recovery, and really living a happy, successful, and sober life at Recovery Today magazine. As I said, my name is Rob Hannley. I'm the producer of Recovery Today magazine. And today I have the absolute distinct and very, very cool pleasure of doing a incredibly unique interview. Today we're chatting with Chris Miller. And Chris is a marathoner from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And the way that I'll set this up is Chris is going to be doing something very unique to bring awareness to addiction, to bring an awareness to recovery, to the stigma that everybody in addiction is still under today. And the first thing that comes to my mind is Tom Hanks running across the country wearing a smiley face and a beard, because Chris is actually going to run across the country. Chris, you got to tell me about this, and thanks for taking the time with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
So, tell me about this. First of all, where are you starting, and where are you going? Let's start from there.
Okay, so today was my first day. I started in Liberty State Park, New Jersey, so right across the way from Manhattan, and I ran all the way out to Florham Park, New Jersey, which is it's like a suburb of Newark. I covered 22.22 miles, and I have another 149 days.
So, when we were talking originally about doing this interview, we were thinking we would do it by phone, but I found it so amazing that you had actually ran really essentially, I mean, this close to a marathon today, and you looked as fresh overall as you are. So let me put this into context here, is that every single day, as and your website is Crisscross the Nation. We'll make sure that we promote it at the end of this. But every single day, you're going to be running basically a marathon, 20, 25, or 30 miles. So tomorrow, you're going to be running another marathon. Is that right?
Yeah, tomorrow I'll run. I think it's my route says I'll be running about 21 miles. So
21 miles. So today 22, tomorrow 21, and then every day. So you're obviously, I guess what's determining is the stopping point, so that you're not 10 miles outside of some town or something like that.
yeah. So one of the first things that I did when I was planning this run was I made a route from Liberty State Park to Los Angeles to Venice Beach, California, and one of the objectives for each route was I needed to find a town that I would, destination for that day. And that really dictated the mileage, the daily mileage. So that's why it varies from 20 to 30.
The thing that caught me originally about this is I didn't know this was humanly possible. So for how many days did you say? 100 and how many days is it?
150, so about 5 months.
For 5 months straight, 30 days out of the month, every day you're going to basically run a marathon.
Yeah. I'll take breaks when I have to. So it's uncharted territory. So I may take a break once a week, or once every 2 weeks or something like that. But the idea is just to keep moving forward, and try to complete the distance as planned.
So obviously, I mean, this is an incredibly unusual feat. I can't really think I've ever heard of anything like this. I think maybe in some obscure documentary I heard of people doing extreme marathons, or they run 100 miles or
Yeah.
something like that. But I didn't really even know it was humanly possible to run a marathon for five.
Yeah, so it's a pretty small community that's done this. Less than 300 people have crossed the country running, and even less have done it unsupported. So I'll have a support team with me, which helps tremendously. Um, but it's a very small community that's done this.
So let's. It's amazing. I mean, what a cool thing. Talk about bragging rights or something you can tell your grandkids or something like that. I mean, just on the feet alone, I find it remarkable that a human being can even do that. But the cool thing and the reason that we're talking, other than if I met you, I would love to talk with you, and I find this so unique. But why we're talking today in an audience that everybody can listen in, and they'll be able to actually track your progress and follow what you're doing. Tie this together into addiction and recovery. Why are you doing this? And this is not just like, and it's addiction recovery. Like this is the main thing. Is that not right? Like what?
Yeah,
Why are
yeah,
you?
it's the main thing. Well, I have a very close loved one that has struggled with alcoholism since I was a little kid. So their struggle, it's really affected my life, and I've seen what it does to a family. I've seen what it does to what it did to their friendships and that and um, I thought, I'd always wanted to cross the country in a way other than driving. So either cycling or running. And I thought that tying the two together, I'd be able to make a statement, a big statement, by doing something extremely daunting.
Completely daunting. So along the way, you're going to talk to people? I understand you're making a documentary out of this, correct? That's what
Yeah,
this is. You're documenting all
yeah,
of it.
yeah. So one of the big aspects is as I'm running across the country, I'll be connecting with people in the communities that I run through and talking to them about addiction and asking them what they know about the recovery community and what they know about long-term recovery and really getting a general getting an idea of what people really think about in regards to addiction.
You'll probably have, I imagine, like stories of my son, my husband, my daughter, my this, my that. I'm thinking that you're going to have some stories about, people that are actively in addiction, people that are. How are you going to find these people? Just people that each place that you go to. How are you going to have the opportunity to interact with them?
Yeah, so people that I encounter on the streets, or knocking on the front door of churches or different community organizations, and just saying, "Hey, I'm passing through the town. This is the cause that I'm running for, and
That's a pretty.
I'd love to talk to you about it." Just today, I spoke to two people. I had no idea. We were just telling them what I was running for, and they're like, "Oh yeah." One person told me, my dad's been sober for 33 years, and it totally caught me off guard. We just wanted to let them know. They were running through the park. We just wanted to let them know what I was doing. So,
It's amazing. I think the statistics are something like one out of every three people in America knows somebody, whether it's themselves or somebody else, that's actually in addiction or recovery. I mean, think of 33% out of whatever it is,
yeah.
300 million people or something like that. It's really really amazing. Um,
It,
yeah. So yeah, go on.
well, and that's another reason why I wanted to do this was growing up because of the situation that I was in, witnessing my loved one struggle with alcoholism. I had a lot of conversations with friends, in more personal environments, right? And what I realized talking to people, talking to friends growing up is the list is long of people who are affected by this, and I just it really troubled me. I just didn't understand why it wasn't why we didn't talk about it more in public. Why it was so taboo when it seemed as if most people that I knew were affected by it.
Yeah. I think, and what we're doing here, and you tell me if this is something that that you align with. whatever, is that there's a stigma from about 100 years ago that they're either bad people, or
Yeah.
maybe a better way is that you're morally deficient. I think that you're
Yeah.
somebody from that side of the thing. So there's a lot of shame on it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, like you couldn't cut it or something. Whereas,
Yeah.
well, we look at it as an illness that anybody can catch it. So
Yeah.
you agree with that?
Yeah. It's a brain disease is the way that I look at it. And so I think, because of the stigma, kind of what I've noticed is that with the shame associated with it, it's it discourages people to seek treatment. So it's actually doing the opposite of what it should be doing. We should be, as a community, we should be supporting people and telling them get treatment.
Yeah. 100% of the research, or maybe not 100% of the research, but the research that I've seen and we've covered shows that actually one of the main things that supports or takes away is the connectedness that people feel. They feel isolated, and when they feel isolated, it's when addiction just really is prevalent. And so we actually do the opposite of this. So, what are you going to do with the documentary when you guys finish?
Well, once we're done with the production and it's all said, and it's all finished, we'll probably enter it in film festivals and see how it goes.
So here's a couple of questions that I had on the practical side of the run.
Hmm.
Is it's kind of funny. I mean, it's not now. It's less funny to me, and now that we're talking and I get a chance to connect with you. But some of the questions I had was, how do we know you're really going to run the whole
Yeah,
way? How do we know that you're not getting on a bus, getting in the van?
yeah.
So I can see obviously that's a silly question now, but what do you say to somebody that asks that kind of question? Like,
Yeah, so okay, so I've got a Garmin watch. It's a GPS watch that is actually synced to my iPhone, and I've got two apps. I've got a Map My Run application and also a Strava application. And so, like for instance, today when I finished my run, the distance that I had run that was tracked by my watch
mhm.
was actually recorded onto Strava and Map My Run. So
Ah,
people who are following me on those sites
yeah.
can see exactly where I ran.
So
They
if
can
you
see
covered
distance.
if you covered 100 miles in 3 hours or something like that, we'd know
Exactly.
that you got on a bus or something, got in a
Yeah.
car. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And so, what about sleeping? What about the practical side of this? I understand you've obviously got a camera crew. Are you going to be sleeping in a trailer? You've got a motorhome. Are you going to be sleeping in a tent, motels, all the above? How is that going to work?
Yeah, so my support team will be with me majority of the way,
Yeah,
but I'm pushing a Thule baby jogger with my gear. So
amazing.
I'm self-sufficient. So I'll be camping
Wow.
most of the nights.
So, what's the main freeway or the main highway? Is there one that you're running for the most amount of distance? Like I live in Seattle. It's Interstate 90 goes from Seattle to I don't know Chicago, maybe all the way to New York. What's the main? I assume you're going to start heading south. What's the main path?
Yeah, so actually I'm running on country roads, on back
Oh,
roads
okay.
to
I
avoid
guess that makes
traffic.
sense.
So my route goes all over the place. I don't have one specific road that I'm using
How
to
about
cross.
winter? What about like I assume you've methodically planned this out that you're not running through, freezing Kansas or something like that in December.
Yeah, yeah. So by the time it's December, I'll be crossing into Nevada. So I'll be in Nevada and Southern California.
What is it that concerns you the most about actually accomplishing this feat? Other things are popping into my mind are like, what if you got sick, or what if you got a cold, or something? I assume you know how to not be dehydrated, but what are some of the things that concern you about the viability of finishing this?
Yeah, so if I get a cold, I'll take a day off or take 2 days off. Um, the objective is to cross in 5 months, but I'm giving myself a 6 month window. So I've got an extra 30 days in case I get sick or I get a minor injury and I need to take a break.
So what we're going to do here at Recovery today is we're going to actually cover your entire trip.
Okay.
So we've got a section all set up for you for this. If anybody that's watching this obviously sees the section because this is how this content is going to be used.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Hope Across the Country because we're a magazine of hope. I see this
Mm-hmm.
is something that's hope that's going to
Yeah.
start the conversation. I think this is so incredibly cool. And then our intention is to be able to connect back to your website, back to your Facebook page. You're going to be doing some Facebook Live where people can click and see where you are. And then, are you going to keep a vlog, a video log of conversations or anything like that along the way? I mean, the journey is what's so important.
Yeah, yeah. We'll definitely have a we'll definitely be documenting, all the conversations that we have for the documentary. So we'll have all that footage, and we'll be, making updates on the website, and letting people be able to follow us that way.
Okay, good. Well, when you get out to California in the fifth month, let's say fifth or sixth
Hmm.
month, so one of the things that we should probably do is have you actually come out to the full blown studio
Yeah.
and where we've got multiple cameras and the whole bit set up and talk to you about the journey a little bit more. But I know that our readers are going to have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing a little bit of updates of what you're learning or what you're seeing or what's the most interesting story or person, sad, happy, whatever. I think it'll be really, really cool. And they'll be able to click through and see real time where you are. I assume anytime they go back to the website, they'll be able to click through and see where you're at presently.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll be doing pin drops on we got a Google map on the website, so we'll be doing pin drops there, so people will be able to see the community that I'll be in, and also Strava. I think Strava is an excellent way to follow the run as well
Is
because
that a
it gives a
runner?
little
I
bit
don't
more.
know that. That's a runner website, I guess.
Yeah,
Strava. Okay.
yeah, yeah. It's for runners and cyclists. So
Okay.
and it gives like a detailed overview of each exercise, elevation, pace. If you have a heart rate monitor, it'll tell you your heart rate during exercise, and it's great.
Terrific. Well, we'll incorporate that all back into this ongoing feature. So as I said, this will be an ongoing feature. At the end of it, we'll promote the full blown documentary. When the documentary is ready to come out, we'll help you with that as well. But I think this is really neat, and it's probably the
Yeah.
most interesting story I think of anybody. Often people come out and they blog, or sometimes they create music or they paint. Many times people get into fitness and they transform their bodies, as you know.
Mhm.
Um, but I've never heard of anybody doing it, thinking about anything like this for the cause. It's really remarkable.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Really means a lot. Thank you.
So thank you so much for taking the time today. What is your website again, please?
It's crisscrossthenation.com.
Crisscross the Nation. That's ChrisCross cross the nation nation nation.com. Is that right?
Yep, that's
Terrific.
correct.
There'll be a link overall here on this. And Chris, thanks for your time. I'm
Yeah,
hoping
thank
that
you.
each month we can actually check in if your schedule allows for some kind of maybe a little bit of a different little interview and get a little update from you where you've been and what you've seen, and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds great.
Thanks again. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.